At exactly 31 minutes past the hour, 7 o'clock on this Furahi Day. Can you smell the weekend?
Absolutely. Can't wait for it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. In the meantime, if it's Friday, we're in the hangout. And today we have a double header. So starting up, the Kalasha Awards are happening next weekend, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. And in the studio today is one young lady who's been nominated for her short film entitled...
Itifaki.
What now?
Itifaki. Sounds Japanese.
It's either that or it sounds very rude. June Wairegi. King, is this what you think you were born to do?
Yeah, it's my passion. I've gone down through some paths, one being studying rocks. Yeah, the other studying journalism for 2 years before realizing I prefer fake stories rather than real ones.
Rather than rocks.
Yes.
How do you get into the rocks, first and foremost?
The placement... the Kenya placement for students in colleges.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they decided I look like someone who
they
should do
just matched
geology.
your face like you need Bachelor of Geology. Where are you?
Exactly.
So you did it for a little bit and said to hell.
Yes.
Well done.
You should do a movie called To Hell, by the way.
Or The Rock.
Yeah.
Rock bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go, Rock Bottom.
Yeah.
So congratulations on your nomination.
Thank
What
you.
is the film about? Was it Ekifaki, right?
Itifaki.
Itifaki. What does it mean?
Itifaki means protocol in Kiswahili. It's a proof of concept for full-length film. It's about a man who lost his daughter and his wife, and he finally gets the man who did it. So it's a confrontation. That's what the movie is about.
Oh.
Yes.
Is there somewhere we can watch that short film before it goes on, so that we can vote, for example? Because, we have like a whole list of Kalasha Awards nominees, but we've never seen this.
The film?
Yes.
Or the trailers.
Yeah, so voting has already ended. It ended yesterday. But the film will be screening at Goethe Institute on Thursday from 2 to 2:08.
That's the
an
place
8-minute film.
That's the place that you call Goethe.
Yeah, that's how we call it as Nairobians. If you look for Goethe, find yourself in Mars a bit.
So when you say proof of concept, what does that mean? Will it? You're hoping it becomes a full-length film?
Yeah, because the film is an action film, it's a spy film, more or less. We wanted to test out whether we could be able to film action scenes, that is, fighting scenes. And it was really successful. So, yeah, eventually we do want to make a full-length film, around 2 hours.
If someone is interested in getting into filming, because a lot of people just go maybe hire equipment or have a camera at home, then they record all this bunch of things that the storyline is not even working, or they've added extra scenes. Walk us through the idea of how to get into film and getting funding so that you don't go at a loss. Because you can have like 10 episodes of a useless show in your computer and saying, citizen, those things.
Well, for most Kenyan producers, we start out as indie producers. That is, we get money out of pocket. In my case, I was in film school at USIU, so that's why I started making films, because the school has its own equipment, so you just come up with your own ideas, and your classmates are your crew members.
Okay.
However, that was kind of sour because, it's student groups. So, post-school, I just got in line with people who were like-minded like me, who had a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just write films, we write scripts, and we get into competitions. That's the first place. Most of them are mobile film competitions, so you can just use your phone. And then after that, you gradually start putting in more money into more stories, and eventually you just make a short film that's worthwhile. Yeah.
Difficult, tough, expensive.
It's as expensive as you make it, because you can't use what you have in most cases. Yes.
Yeah, as basic as a mobile phone. If you have a good phone and
Exactly.
you know how to edit and your sound is good, the film is done.
Yeah.
But you can have the nice right equipment, but a wrong script, and then it's just a waste of money.
But let's say the equipment is more affordable these days, isn't it?
Yeah, we have Faris who we all hire equipment from. He's really affordable. So, yeah.
Who's this?
Faris. His name is Faris. People in the film industry know about him.
Okay.
Is that guy downtown where you've got like a whole floor of equipment, or this is a different guy?
No, it's the same guy.
I know him very well.
Yeah.
Is that the guy who used to own Ramogi Studios?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So,
So,
what are you working on right now?
Right now, we just finished working on a short film, a docubox short film called Sukari. That will be coming out around June. And then after that, we want to work on a full-length film, which is a rom-com. Yeah.
tell him what rom-com is.
Yeah, what is rom-com?
A rom-com is a romantic comedy.
Oh.
Clap for yourself, Jeff. They use shortened things last 30 years.
Rom-com. Okay. So you'll hire actors and do all that stuff?
Yes.
Do you have a budget, or you'll look for a budget?
We're looking for the budget currently. We're looking for ways we can co-produce with other production houses, and also how to start giving equity to people.
In the film?
Yeah, in the film, because the film is a product that is, it's money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, it's product that has money.
Yeah. The Oscars were late last month. I don't know if you watched them, or you're interested in them.
Yeah. I definitely was interested in them.
Will we ever get a movie in the Oscars? June?
I think eventually we will. Eventually, once filmmakers start seeing film as business. That is, and not just filmmakers, but rather even the bank institutes, the insurance institutes, just the business side of the business world of Kenya. The moment they start to see film as business and lucrative, I think eventually we will.
We say that, and every time we have musicians here, they say music is to look at as a business. You're also saying the same thing. What do you think is the one little thing, besides just look at it, is it we're not saying the right stories? Because we really like to ape other countries. If you watch Netflix, for example, or Amazon, you'll know this is an American type of, shoot or whatever. The UK have their own way of the Australians, Indians, Nigerians. Do we have that thing yet, or we are still finding ourselves?
I think in terms of storytelling, we're still finding our footing. You know how we say that Kenyans, we think we don't have an accent, and then we go out there and we have an accent. So it's kind of like we don't know ourselves yet. So our storytelling is the same. Because with most stories that have ended up hitting the global scene, they've had a lot of help from mentors from Western countries. So with our own ingrown stories, we've not yet found our footing in the script writing, that is the storytelling bit of it. But I think with more and more money being poured into making the films, and eventually films getting made, we're finding our footing, we're finding our voice.
Yeah.
You mentioned DocuBox earlier on. I haven't gone to the website. Tell us about DocuBox.
DocuBox is the East African Documentary Film Fund. They fund documentaries, short films. They fund even post-production for some films. They've been around for, I think, 17 years now, for quite a while. Yeah, they are the leading grantors, film fund in Kenya.
Oh, like how much on average? I want to do a documentary about Jeff.
The history of Miadi.
Yeah, no, for real. They fund anything as long as it's a good story, yeah?
Yeah.
And how much money are you asking? What's the ceiling?
Like what kind of budgets do we work with? Let me add the volume for the listener. You just see emails to info@mydocubox. My name is Kenodia. My name is I didn't want to.
They have different calls throughout the year. So the last call they had was for $10,000.
It's not bad.
Yeah. But they've had other calls for even 250,000.
It just depends on what you want to do.
It depends on what you want to do, and also what money they have at that time. What program are they running at that time? Yeah.
Excellent. Growing up in this film industry, who did you look up to? Did you look up to the Wanuri Kahios of this world, or who were you looking up to?
At the time, I really didn't know Wanuri Kahio. Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day, she was a kid, she's...
Not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
But when I was coming up in the industry, I unfortunately learnt about her the moment she left.
Oh.
Yeah, so who I was left with behind was someone like Likari Noinaina. He's a director. He did Supermodel.
Okay.
Yeah, he also did. There's a movie on Netflix called Morning After. So he's the one that I really looked up to. I looked for him, went for master classes that he was hosting. Yeah, so he was the one. And also a producer called Lucy Mwangi. She's the one who produces Njoro Wauba. Yeah. Her and Vashita Eve.
Okay.
Yeah, Eve D'Souza.
I hear Wanuri is coming back, though,
She is?
apparently.
Awesome. Yeah, we're happy to have her.
The huge blockbuster. Yeah.
So
So you enjoy this, huh? This is your calling.
this is it. I mean, I maybe Rocks would have given me better money, but here I am. Yeah.
Obsidian and all those rocks we used to study once upon a time.
Tanzanite and all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, what else? Okay, so what will winning the Kalasha mean to you?
Mostly, I think validation as a producer. Yeah, which is pretty important because then it makes me look like a credible producer. But also, it's just really meaningful because Itifaki was a film that my director had shelved for quite a while. So for him to be able to do this and to see the progress that he's made in action films, it's a big fit.
Yeah.
It's a really huge fit.
Maybe you can talk to the youth out there so they understand the magnitude of all the opportunities. Because everyone is saying, oh, there are no jobs. But you could be a great storyteller. You could be a great writer. You have the potential to act. You're good with... Talk to them so that they see how big the potential is. So that we can all move towards film and have our own equivalent of Netflix maybe one day.
Kenflix.
And the problem is we are going to bite that name and call it Kenflix.
I think the most important thing people need to realize is that film is not a white collar job, not in any way. It's a blue collar job. It's a job that requires you to be constantly on the move. It's very physical, both mentally, physically. It needs you to move from place to place. So it's more about the effort that people don't have. They think that they're going to hire someone to do costume for them. They're going to hire someone to do makeup. I've learned how to do makeup. I've learned how to go to Gikomba and haggle and get costumes at a good price. I've learned how to, go to the caretaker, like, please just let me use this house for a day to shoot. And then you shoot and the tiles start breaking because people are fighting and you have to pay for the tiles. You have to go look for the tiles yourself to come. Unajua takugonga. So, it's a very physical job that requires you to move from place to place. So it's more about the effort. If you have a story to tell, it's about the effort. It's not about the equipment. It's not about even the talent that you have. It's just that effort.
What's going on? I was thinking of getting into farming and buying some fertilizer, but after I saw that expose, I said, maybe in farming.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you should give up on farming just yet. I think who we should also not give up on is like the subsistence farmer, because they're the ones who, like in the story that we produced, were the ones who are most victimized. I mean, across 5 counties, thousands of farmers use this product, and the sad thing is that it's on a smaller scale, but I think in terms of devastation, it reminds me of Anglo leasing. Remember, Anglo leasing happened at the end of the Moi regime and towards the beginning of the Kibaki regime.
Yes.
So this is a sort of scandal that has crossed regimes, right? So the partnership was announced on the 1st of April, 2022. This guy has been selling fake, I shouldn't even call it fertilizer, right? He's been selling a fake product for 2 years under the noses of everybody through NCPB stores. And there have been complaints from farmers. There had been complaints about what was happening, but nobody took them seriously. Now, the fact that it's come out and then now you're starting to see others like this alleged fertilizer in Kakamega Panda Power and others and other, and other people selling this kind of fake fertilizer tells you where we are as a country, that we would harm our food security. I think it's the lowest of the low. It's much lower than many of these other scandals, but people think are victimless. This has real victims. We don't know what those products have. We don't know through the process of biomagnification how it could affect our food, and then eventually what it could impact our health, what impact it could have on our health. So Fertile Deception was one documentary that we produced, but there's unfortunately many other problems that we need to address that are of a similar nature.
Is this guy still at large?
He's not. Well, at large is assuming that there's people who are looking for him, right? So he was on various media houses, saying how the documentary was fake, we didn't understand, blah blah blah. As late as last week, he was doing his own media tour, trying to counter the story, and we hear from KEBS that legal action is being taken against them. We have heard nothing from the Ministry of Agriculture, which is a parent ministry for these things. Zero. The documentary came out on the 10th. It's 11 days since. Nothing from the CS, nothing from the PS about this issue. That, I think, should be even scarier than even the person himself.
Do you think that maybe also how KEBS operates itself is where the loophole is? Because when things are being, like if I import something and call it Jeff and Nick Fertilizers, all I have to do is take samples to KEBS, then they approve. But you see, they should also be able to know where I store all the rest of this. They just do a random sampling.
Yeah, it's really a question of capacity, right? So, KEBS is the body that is charged with ensuring that we have products of a specific standard. But I don't know that they have the right amount of capacity to be able to do these kinds of things. They rely a lot on market intelligence, right? So like from people going and making complaints, etc. The standardization mark is given. It's almost like an honor system. So you're given a standardization mark to say that this product is supposed to be of this standard, and you have the responsibility to maintain it at that standard, otherwise it is withdrawn. And so that, exactly what you've explained, Nick, is a loophole. Someone can go back and start to manipulate their product. And because they have the standardization mark from KEBS, people think that, KEBS checks each and every bag. They don't, right? And I think that's where it is. So it's both a problem in terms of capacity, also an issue in terms of how perhaps KEBS conducts its market surveillance. The larger issue here is that because of corruption, we've become such a low-trust society that even a standardization mark doesn't mean much, right? People use it the way they will. That's the broader problem that we're trying to point at.
And of course, on top of that, the cartels reign.
Yep. And I really hate that word, cartel, because at least in Kenya, what it does is that it gives people anonymity, right? We didn't use the word cartel much in that story. We used the names of the people who we found to have been involved and laid the responsibility at their door. We won't be able to do it every time, but I think what the word cartel does is that it throws a shroud of mystery around these people to make them seem like they are giants, people who eat children.
Yeah.
Exactly, and these people, they're people like you and I. They have kids, they go to work, they do all sorts of things. It's just that the work that they do is planning, to plunder the country. And if we want any sort of movement in terms of the fight against corruption, then there has to be some level of demystifying who these cartels and this deep state and what have you are. I mean, look at what was trending yesterday with Rashid Achesa and Ferdinand Barasa. What kind of country are we in where something like that can happen?
Pure nonsense.
It's nonsense, and that we are sitting here a day later, there's nothing that's happened. This is a governor who was purported to have done this. And here we are sitting, pretty. This is the problem, that we then now say, huyo, level yenye amefika, hatuwezi mgusa. No, nobody is above the law. Not even the president. And I think we need to remember that and start to demand that is enforced.
Do you think we are more bark than bite here, John? Because, KOT, very vocal, you hear them every day. But then, like you said, 24 hours later, we moved on.
the responsibility to arrest, to prosecute, is not the responsibility of this amorphous group called KOT. Yes, it is a place, it's a platform where Kenyans come and talk, right, and discuss. It's a public square. And I think we should appreciate, what happens on Twitter for what it is, right? It is a public square, but the responsibility lies somewhere. I think what perhaps and I was told this by professional colleagues of mine yesterday, that yes, I mean, to a degree, excuse me, we're very good at naming the problem, right? But organizing for the problem to be solved is something that is somewhat of a lost art in this, in this generation, right? I say somewhat because there have been instances where people have actually done stuff to really move the needle. Look at the Femicide March, right? That was tremendous. And this was organized by citizens. It wasn't organized by some organization. It wasn't by FIDA. It wasn't by, it was by people who said that we've had enough of this issue. We are going to demonstrate that we really want some movement. Beyond that, they went to county assemblies to try and start to get legislation around, criminalizing or further criminalizing femicide and better action. So the knowledge exists, but it's somewhat of a lost art. And I think what gives institutions that are supposed to act the luxury of sitting pretty is that they know tomorrow there'll be another scandal. Tomorrow there'll be another thing to talk about, and people will hopefully forget. But like with this fertilizer thing, a few months down the road, when the sun now starts beating us the way it's beating guys in South Sudan, and crop and land dries and we start to get into drought, we will remember this time, right? And it's so close in the future that we can't afford to continue just to allow for this kind of inaction to take place. My gripe, is, for instance, with this story, is with the Ministry of Agriculture. That's a custodian of our food security, right? If we cannot eat, if we cannot feed ourselves as a country, or if the food that we are eating, the provenance of how it's been grown, cannot be trusted, that says a lot about us as a country. Because when you take that bite of food in Sankara and you're taking that bite of food in Burma, if it's grown in the same farm where fake fertilizer is being used, and that happens to impact you, you guys will meet in the hospital, in the operating room. And remember, the one great equalizer is death. You will still die from the same ailment, whether you have 1 million shillings that you've stolen or you have 10 bob that you worked honestly for. We need to work for a just society, not one where you think that because the quality of your food was done by a 5-star chef, then you're safe.
And yet, at the end of the day, people will get away with it. Unfortunately. I'm hoping against hope that doesn't happen. I mean, the president himself addressed himself to the issue, meaning that I don't know whether he watched our documentary, but at least there's some intelligence that's reaching him about what's happening on the ground. That he would make the people beneath him act, right? This is not a UDA issue. There's no maize. Well, there's yellow maize, but it doesn't distinguish.
That is the UDA one.
Yes, it doesn't distinguish between an Azimio stomach and a UDA stomach, right?
Yeah.
This is an issue that affects all of us, including him, because he eats food that's grown in this country. Yeah. We would hope that he would act.
As the DCI acted upon it, are there enough complaints? Is there proof? Because sometimes what happens is they are unable to take it to the next level because some people don't want to come forward and be the complainants.
So KEBS has sampled, at least in that case, KEBS has sampled at least 59 samples from across the country of the same product. None of them met the required standard. So there's documentary proof. KEBS have also said that the standardization mark was misused. So there's actual proof. And I think if I was to look at some of the laws, I think that there should be some laws prosecuting the interference with Kenya's food security. So there is ample room for DCI to act. I know there's lots of crime as well, other things that are happening. But like I said, even the policeman goes home to eat.
And they're eating the poison right now. They could be.
That's exactly the point, The thing about this story that was so upsetting to produce. And I have to give a shout out to my team, Cynthia Gishiri, Elijah Kanyi, Sam Munia, the ones who worked directly on the story. The thing that was frustrating about watching the footage that when it came back from Kariandusi was it was almost like, you see the way you said that you like to produce movies that are fictional, right? You couldn't even write this. You understand? You can't write a script like this where people are digging like straight from the earth, packaging it in bags, putting it on trucks and shipping them to NCPB depots. Like there isn't even an attempt to make the product inside it look or act as fertilizer. And you go and sell it at discounted rates and hawk it, like literally, like really push it. And months down the road, when farmers' crop is yellowing or not growing, where are you? Where are you to be found? These are the challenges that I know we're supposed to be dispassionate about our work, but there are some things that are really upsetting when you see them.
And I can imagine, like, based on that story, base case scenario, in case people don't get prosecuted, what would be the best way? Because from that telling me from Kariandusi in the trucks all the way to NCPB, it tells that there's a lot of laxity. Let me say it, Jeff would say laxity. Amongst a lot of people. Because, even on the roads, the police should be able to stop.
Yeah.
There's a guy from Kebs doing their thing. When it gets to NCPBA, random texting of, X number of bags.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is where we'll be able to bring an end to these things?
I think it starts earlier than that. I think when it's really a question of integrity. The processes exist. The people to intervene are there. They're there at the right places. The question is integrity. This story would not have come out if there wasn't a person of integrity who, when seeing what he was asked to do, said, no, I have to speak out about this. This is our whistleblower. That's really the secret sauce. That people who would be in positions where you're seeing, crimes happening in front of you, and you can't stomach it, speaking out. Now, there's a lot of danger in doing that. And, fortunately for us, we have protocols on how to be able to protect the people who come to us with information, at least conceal their identities at the very least.
Right.
And there are partnerships where if things go south, that we might perhaps look into to be able to protect individuals. But the overall, I think, lesson that I learned from that is that if that guy had not stepped out, we wouldn't have known. Right, we would have found out much, much later from complaints of farmers, and then they're saying, "Oh, my crop didn't do this." And by that time, there kuna vijisababu that these people can give to say that the fertilizer worked just fine. Look at the Kebs test, etc., etc. Because tests were produced, right, to say that this is actually organic fertilizer. Documentation was produced. Documentation will always be there.
I mean, it's not that hard to make documentation.
Exactly.
Yeah. On River Road. Where can one watch this latest series?
So, Fertile Deception is available on Africa Uncensored's YouTube page. So just go type in Africa Uncensored, hit the subscribe button, and you can watch. We also are on TikTok, so there's lots coming out. Twitter, obviously, you'll be able to get some content. It ran on NTV, but now we're exclusively on YouTube, and it's free.